What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Too Good for Theaters video. Today, we're going to be breaking down another NFL draft prospect here, that being Penn State's Tyler Warren. So let's get right into it. So taking a look into Tyler Warren here, 6'6" tight end, 261 pounds, 22 years old, played all 4 years at Penn State, and he really is just a playmaker. Honestly, he might just be the best playmaker outside of Travis Hunter in this entire draft here, even from the tight end position. And this is a guy who very much reminds me of Aaron Hernandez, at least on the field speaking wise. And what I mean by that is just the versatility, and it's honestly just on display with his athleticism and how Penn State used him. I mean, this was a guy who lined up in the backfield, took direct snaps. You could put him out wide, in line, and he's just that versatile. And he really was a lot of Penn State's passing attack, that being the receiving game. And he really showed that he was the most dynamic, not only offensive weapon on that team, but besides Abdul Carter, probably the best weapon on that team in general. And he really did show why he was one of the best tight ends in the nation, because Penn State's passing attack was basically non-existent without him on the field last year. And it just showed how good of a player he was. But, I mean, this is a guy where contact really does not affect him. He's pretty good with yards after the catch. He can make some contested catches. He has a big frame and really allows for his athleticism to use his arms, go out and high point footballs like that. Extremely versatile, like I said. Very good hands. Has a extremely low drop rate at the tight end position. Very good quickness with speed and running out of his breaks. So he's a very good route runner from that position as well. And honestly, if the Patriots were to take him with that 4th overall pick, I think it would be a little bit of a reach. But this would be the guy where if you wanted to trade back, and maybe Will Campbell gets taken out of your trade back scenario, this is probably the guy that you want to get just because of how badly your offense needs weapons. And I understand that you have Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, very good serviceable tight ends, but this pick wouldn't just be about next season. This is probably getting your best playmaker on the offensive side of the ball for several seasons, especially with how Josh McDaniels can use his tight ends, as we saw with Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, the guy I kind of comped him here too. He really just does a nice job of getting out on lead blocks as well. He's a pretty serviceable blocker from the tight end position, and I'm sure under Josh McDaniels and this Patriot system, he's only going to evolve in that stance, especially with some of the different type of schemes that the Patriots have these tight ends use, whether it's like wham blocks or getting out on lead blocks, stuff like that around pitches, getting to the second level. That really is his one kind of fatal flaw in the more so blocking area, is when he does get to that second level, he tends to draw a little bit more penalties on him, whether it's holding, and he tends to tug the jersey a little bit. So hopefully he's going to be able to clean that up. But other than that, I would say he's a very productive blocker. And that's really his one downside. I would say that after all that, he just displays very good short area quickness. He has a good plethora of route trees. He does struggle, or quote unquote struggle, with getting separation in the vertical game. But I would more so attribute that to kind of who is guarding him in that scenario. Often at that time, the safety or maybe even some corners would be put on him who are expected to match his speed, if not be quicker. So I would say that he's more so going to work the middle of the field. And we saw a lot with Drake May last season. He likes to work that middle of the field there. Of course, he does like that deep ball down the sideline as well. But if it's not to that target or to the outside, it's going to be across the middle. And having a guy like Tyler Warren who can really work the middle of the field, be a mismatch nightmare for several teams. You put a safety on him, he's probably going to be too big for a lot of the safeties in the league. So he's just going to be able to box out opponents, get some good easy yards there. And you definitely cannot put a linebacker on him, especially with his speed and his route tree. As I said earlier, he's just too quick. He displays too good of short area quickness and is a very good route runner. So he really is a dynamic athlete, and especially when you put him either in the slot or across the middle of the field, he will be a matchup nightmare for a lot of these teams, which is going to allow for guys on the outside to work across the middle of the field because of the diverted attention that you're going to have to put on Tyler Warren here. So it's going to be interesting to see where Tyler Warren really drops in this draft. I think he will be an automatic top 10 pick just because of his playmaking ability here. And if Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are off the board here and the Patriots cannot find a real target to trade back with, Tyler Warren might honestly be the best value pick at the 4 position. Understandably, really there is that kind of middle class tier or let me not say middle class tier, but really through 4 through 10 of these prospects are kind of in that same graded tier. And Tyler Warren is probably the best playmaker out of all of them. So if you don't look at that offensive tackle position, then Tyler Warren would probably be your best bet out of any of the prospects in this year's draft class. But taking a look at the 2024 campaign here, Tyler Warren played in 16 games, had an offensive grade of 91.3, a receiving grade of 93.4, a pass block grade of 57.7, a run block grade of 52.8, and a rushing grade of 81.5. He was targeted 135 times in the Penn State offense. He came down with 104 receptions for a reception rate of 77%, 1,230 yards, around 12 yards per reception, 8 touchdowns. He was 13 to 21 in contested catch scenarios, only had 3 drops for a drop rate of 2.8%, had around 6.7 yak yardage per reception, so very dynamic with the ball in his hands, averaged around 3 yards per route run, had an average depth of target 7 yards. So as I said before, kind of works in that more so short to medium passing game there, and not really that much of a vertical threat. However, he can do that occasionally here. But taking a look at his run block grades, according to PFF here, he had a gap percentage of 47.9, where he took 195 snaps compared to a zone percentage of 45.5%, which he took 185 snaps. So really no big difference right there. Of course, I've stated before that Josh McDaniels prefers to run more so of a gap system here, but occasionally will run some outside zone. So from a blocking standpoint, Tyler Warren would fit in pretty well. He's familiar with both schemes here. And take a look at his pass block numbers. Of course, he was so much of a receiving threat for Penn State. He did not take a lot of pass blocking formations. He only had 17 snaps from a pass block sense, gave up 2 pressures, 1 hurry, and 1 QB hit. And as I stated before, Penn State actually used him in the backfield a ton, where he took 25 rushing attempts for 218 yards, 8.7 yards per carry with 4 touchdowns. He did fumble twice. However, he did have 11 missed tackles forced there. He had 6 runs of 10-plus yards, and he had 3 runs of 20-plus yards. So, like I said before, dynamic with the ball in his hands. Does have to clean up that fumbling problem just a little bit, but I don't really see that being that much of an issue, and he kind of embraces the contact as he should as a tight end. So all these numbers are really just showing me that he embraces the physical aspects of the game, which is something that this Patriots offense kind of needs. They kind of need that kind of dirty player to really muck it up and gain some extra yardage through some sheer force here. But taking a look by his snaps by alignment, he took 39 snaps from the QB position, 69 snaps from the backfield. He took 414 snaps on the inline, 293 slot snaps, 93 out wide snaps, and he played 8 offensive line snaps. So as I said before, very versatile piece here for Penn State. And in a lot of games, he really was their offense. So it really just shows how much of a playmaking threat Tyler Warren was and how much of a burden it was for him being kind of that entire offense for the Penn State team this year. And if he were to come to the Patriots, I would certainly like to play him in that Aaron Hernandez role as they kind of used to. Of course, Aaron Hernandez, this was a guy you could put out wide, put him in the slot, in line. You can even put him in the backfield. And Josh McDaniels was the offensive coordinator who really worked a lot of those kind of wonky formations in where Aaron Hernandez had a ton of success. So if the Patriots were to draft Tyler Warren, I'm sure that Josh McDaniels would be able to pull up a lot of old film of Aaron Hernandez, kind of show Tyler Warren what kind of role he'd be fitting in here with New England. And that would certainly be something that Drake May should be interested in, having a versatile playmaker like Tyler Warren. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up this video here talking about Tyler Warren. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on whether or not you think the Patriots would be reaching if they were to take Tyler Warren with the 4th overall selection. But I'm going to continue making these draft coverage videos here, so hopefully I'll check you all out in the next one.